My name is Bill, and this is going to be a tutorial on a basic wrap, a wire wrap of cabochon. In this case, it's going to be simple 4-wire wrap, which might have some accents at the top. This is my very first sample that I ever made. To be honest, I'm not an expert at this. I've only been doing this for a few weeks, and I've only done a few dozen wraps. So I'm not great at this, but with this basic example, you're going to be able to perform a lot of different wraps. So in addition to a basic wrap like that, you can also handle fat stones like that, or funny shaped rocks which are not round at all, like that. You can wrap in a tough stainless or a solid filled silver wrap if you want to, or you can wrap in something like a gold plated, which is what this is. The basic wrap gives you the flexibility to carry out augmentations or things which could make the final result look a little different. Maybe some prongs or something like that. But again, just the flexibility to get ideas on how to generally start doing wraps, and hopefully this gives us a better idea of how to do that by the time we're done watching this. Again, I'm not an expert. I apologize for the lighting, any shadows that could come over here, or any interruptions. I'm not a video expert, and this is not a studio I have set up. This is kind of an informal thing I have set up at my coffee table in the living room. So on to the tools. You're going to want some wire. This is a artistic wire which can be bought at any hobby shop. It's a good beginner wire. It's brass, looks like gold. Comes in different gauges, and today we're going to be working with a real thick 18 gauge. Normally you wouldn't do that, but I'm going to be using a very large, heavy subject for today's lesson, so it's easy to see the wire. So I'm using an 18 gauge, and I'm also going to use a 22 gauge, and that will just be done in gold. And the wire is important. Cheap stuff, you can get this for $6 or $7 online. This is a small size. They make even smaller sizes, but cheap stuff. You're going to want a knife, any type of knife. You're going to want scissors. You'll see that in a minute. You won't need round nose pliers, but I've got them anyway. You will need needle nose pliers, and it helps completely if you don't have any jaws on the inside. If you do have jaws on the inside, then you're going to need to take some tape, like a blue painter's tape, and cover up those jaws real good so that they don't leave marks. Otherwise they'll grab and leave marks on the wire. You can see where I've got some traditional pliers right here, and they're wrapped really good so they don't leave marks. I still use those for occasionals. You're going to have something called a flat nose needle plier. Flat nose pliers are kind of a square at the end, and this helps to make accents and things at the end. You're going to need a good set of cutters. Just anything that can cut wire is good. Again, when I first started the first piece that we're using for the demo, I had nothing but tools that had regular jaws on them and left mars all over the place, and no cutters whatsoever, really, and a lot of tools I didn't have. But this can still be made with the simplest of tools. You don't have to be perfect and go out and buy all these tools. but it helps if you have a good set of tweezers or something where you can get into real tight places with a nice metal. It helps if you also have some fine sanding, either an emery board or some fine sanding tools are helpful. A lot of times you're going to need to take off a rough edge or take off something that you don't want people to see. And if you have anything that can sand down, sandpaper, or even some files like this, it's going to help out tremendously. You're going to want to mark things occasionally, so get a Sharpie. You'll need a ruler, probably, of some sort. A flexible one is best, but any type of ruler is good. It helps if you can straighten wire, and this little device costs about $10 online, but essentially it's just used to pull wire through and straighten it. But you don't need that. You can use your hands to straighten the wire at the beginning. Some sort of a tape, like a masking tape, or I find like a painter's tape. Works really well. I'm going to use this a lot. Something to form the bail. It's called the bail, which is this piece at the back. Something to form that is helpful. This can either be any tool that you have that's round, like a round piece of wood, a dowel, a pen, some sort of piece of metal that's rounded, or even if you have a set of pliers which are round, this would be a big help. So you're gonna want something like that near the end. Some people like to use hemostats. I did, but I don't any longer. Even if you cover the jaws really well, the clamping force is so strong, it will bend wire or it'll leave really, really big mars on the wire. So I don't like to use the hemostats any longer, but that's it. If you have these tools, you're more than set. If you have half these tools, you can still do it. But that's the tools you need.